Oh, okay. You're smart. You're so organized.
Oh, well, I try. That's the only way I can do it when I overload my plate like I'm prone to do.
Well, way to go.
Yeah, I like to tackle more than I really should.
Really?
Yeah.
So are we on air?
Yes.
You do the introduction.
Good afternoon, this is Clark with The Herd coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Sin City we used to be called, now we're pure as the driven snow. But anyways, stuff still stays here. We're here today with a special guest, Melissa Lofter. She's running for District 4 of the Assembly here in Nevada. And we have Ed Uehling as a guest host. He's going to interview her and see what platform she's running on and what she's proposing to do for the state of Nevada. So why don't you take over, Ed?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Melissa, for coming. And can you pronounce your name?
Yes, the last name is pronounced Lauder,
Lauder?
like daughter.
Oh, but it's really.
Yes, but it's spelled like laughter.
Okay. Okay.
You're not crazy.
Okay. Very good. And so, as he indicated, what is motivating you to run? You're running for Assembly District 4, is that correct?
Yes, Assembly
Yes.
District 4.
And who is the current holder of that position? Who is the incumbent?
Well, it was Michelle Fiore, but she has since moved down to Congressional District 3, so it will be an open position.
I see. So is she no longer living in District 4 then?
Well, she has a history of moving around when she wants to run for a position, so she's about to term out up there, so she's going to move down to Congressional District 3, and she'll probably get about 12 more years if she wins.
Yeah. And so is she still the Assembly person?
Correct.
Yeah, right. Okay. Because we had some confusion about that. You're on some tax committee or something?
She was on a tax committee.
Oh, she was on a tax committee.
I am not on a tax
Oh,
committee.
you're not on a tax
I don't like taxes.
You don't like taxes?
No.
Okay, well, let's start
Well,
with
you're a
that.
good one for the committee. Perfect.
Yeah, the only tax I like is the one that's going away.
There you go.
Oh, very good. And so, tell us more about that. About your feelings about taxes and the tax hike that was done in the last legislature.
Well, I am no fan of Brian Sandoval. Haven't been for a long time. I don't think that he's good for Nevada. He puts across that he's a conservative. However, his actions say differently. As you both know, we did receive significant tax hike. And that's not what Nevada needs right now. I mean, we just recently went through a terrible recession. We had the highest foreclosure rate in the entire nation. We still have one of the highest rates for people being underemployed, that's to say that they are currently working in jobs that they are overqualified for. So, maybe they're making $15 an hour now where they were used to making a $60,000 a year salary. So double that.
Yeah, or they're unemployed totally.
Or unemployed totally, or not even being reported at this point in time, because as you know, once you stop being eligible for unemployment, there's no longer any way to track you as a statistic.
Don't you think that's crazy?
I think it's absolutely ludicrous.
To not include those people in the unemployed?
Well, of course, because
Yeah.
there's a great deal of
Yeah.
them, and fortunately, because we are, Americans, we find other ways to make money. So I do know that a lot of people have ventured out and tried to start their own businesses or joined with other people and gone into those endeavors. Because once the unemployment is gone, what do you turn to?
Yes. And so what are your feelings about the commerce tax in particular?
Again, it has that word tax in it. I don't like taxes. We are taxed and taxed and taxed, and so we are so far beyond double taxation without representation. I don't know, we're on the 8th or 9th layer right now. So again, why do we have to keep paying for these things when we're really not even getting our money's worth with the taxes that we already pay?
And then we could raise fees when the tax board gets to a point where you can't use it anymore.
Sure.
So just raise the fees. Fee
Sure.
for this, fee for that.
Right.
Fee for running a business, fee for your registration.
Exactly. Why do I have to license my dog? I mean, do I need permission from the government to do everything? To live, to breathe, to exist? I don't think so.
Okay. And so you're going to be promoting that banner of freedom then,
Absolutely.
freedom from the government.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because the way to keep the American people down is to constantly take their money. Because then you're always trying to catch up, make it to the next payday, make it to the next direct deposit as it is now. But you know, you can't take the excess money that you would normally have and do things for your family or create a business or take a vacation for yourself, because everything that you make is constantly going to the government.
And so why do you think people don't understand that? Have you, obviously the leaders don't understand that.
Well, half the country
Have
doesn't
you-
pay the taxes they just get from the government.
This is true.
Is
That's
that
the
an
way it's
issue?
going.
Have you
Of
found that
course.
to be an issue?
Absolutely, especially here in Nevada, in Las Vegas. I mean, we're technically a sanctuary city. You have all of these illegals coming into this city, and the other side erroneously makes the statement that they pay taxes. No, they don't. $25 billion went to Mexico last year in the form of remittances. And for those that don't understand what a remittance is, that's when an illegal here gets money in his hand, in cash, and then sends it home to Mexico. We surpassed the oil business in Mexico last year, in 2015. So US dollars are supporting the economy of Mexico. So you tell me how those dollars funnel back into our economy and pay for roads and pay for infrastructure and pay for development and pay for schools and pay for clinics and pay for all of the things that Nevadans are rightfully entitled to via their tax dollars.
But a minute ago you were against taxes. You're not happy that they don't pay taxes?
Well, if we're going to be charged taxes, let's be charged equally and fairly.
Okay.
Okay, equality and justice for all. This is not a
Well, how about
us
going the
versus
other
them.
direction and not having taxes ourselves, not having at least income taxes? Why should one be penalized for working?
One should not be penalized for
Or
working.
why should a business be penalized for hiring people?
Right. I'm for responsible spending and for responsible citizenry. So as a citizen, I don't mind contributing to pay for roads and for schools and the things that we use in common. We're a society, therefore we have to make some kind of a contract with each other so that we have the benefit for the entire citizenry of Las Vegas,
Yeah.
okay? But when you start stacking the taxes, and as you just stated,
Buying votes.
yes, and then you start calling it an administrative fee, and then you start calling it a licensing fee, and then you call it this, that, and the other. The fact of the matter is, it is all designed to take dollars out of the American person's pocket.
And give nice
That-
pension plans to government workers and health plans to government
Yes.
workers and bonuses to government workers.
Right, and
Like all
again-
the IRS people got bonuses.
Sure.
The banks that
I didn't get a
were
bonus. Did you
insolvent
get a
and got
bonus?
bailed out by the taxpayers, they all got big bonuses. You know, the insurance companies that went broke get big bonuses.
Sure, because the
They're all
objective
taxed
at this
off.
point in time is that there's going to be a two-class system. There's going to be an upper class of citizenry, and there's going to be a lower
And
class
I
of
call it
citizenry.
government class and a lower class.
Absolutely. Well, it's not just government, though. We do have a lot of big business that is not in government, but they are in
But
government
they're
because
going
they
to
pay.
Ireland, and they're going here, and they're going there, so they're
They,
getting
what,
out.
they pay, what you were gonna say, they pay the politicians? Were you gonna say
Sure,
that?
absolutely, right, because a lobbyist.
I want you to finish your sentence.
Yeah, because the lobby industry takes the money from the businesses that want their agendas passed, and they pass it on to the politicians, and, you know, the entire cycle starts all over again.
Yeah.
And it's time to take that component of politics and remove it.
How are
It
you
is
gonna
not
get
to
rid
the
of the
benefit.
special interest?
Well, you know, how do you eat an elephant?
I have a
One bite at a
solution.
time.
You get rid of the parties.
Well, I
'Cause
don't
they're
know
the
if that's gonna
corrupt
work or
organization.
not.
Why? What do they do for the individual?
Well,
What do they do for the voter?
I agree that the ship is infested with rats. However, I'm not willing to, burn the ship to get rid of the rats. I am willing to try and get
But
some
if the
cats
tax- if the
to get rid of the
That's
rats.
a good
If the
analogy.
taxpayer is land bound and doesn't use ships, what do you need that ship for?
Well, that was actually
Let it sink.
That was an analogy.
Well, so is mine. What do you need the parties for? They don't do anything for the voter.
What parties used to do is it brought people together that had common ideas and common solutions. So if you told me that you belong to the Republican Party, I used to could count on a few things with that statement. That you were morally conservative, that you were fiscally conservative, that you're probably an okay guy. That you weren't looking to reach into my pocket to feed and finance everybody else that
I
wasn't
agree
working.
that 30, 40 years ago.
Okay, well, so do we just abandon what our ideals have been, what our morals have been?
Not
Do
unless
we
we
let-
get back 40 years to when it was like that,
Well,
because it's not like that anymore.
I'm not willing to concede the fight. That's not me. I'm a fighter, and I will not concede the fight because someone else comes in and they put an accusation on me that I don't care about poor people, or I don't care about an immigrant, or I don't care about this, that, or the other. You know what? Prove it. Because I know what I do on a daily basis. I know that I drive to my work every day and I see poor people lining the street that don't have food, that don't have shelter over their heads. And I gotta say, you have a dereliction of duty if you've reached into my pocket and taken my money and there's still poor people on the street. Now I know what I do. I carry a bag of food in my vehicle every day. And when I see someone that I can pass that on to, I give it to them.
Huh.
So,
Very
you know,
interesting.
it begins with us. We've got to stop looking to groups and political parties to start making the change. We have to be the change that we expect to see in the world.
Right, it has to come from the people.
Right, but that's a mindset that has taken place over the last 30 or 40 years, as you've identified, that people have been brainwashed as, oh, well, I gave it the office, therefore I no longer have a moral duty or obligation to help anyone. And so it stopped because they gave the money. So they figured that it's being taken care of because it's paid for. You know, and I can draw an analogy that,
Yeah, there's a lot.
that this is the same things that happens in our national parks. I went up to Yosemite Park a couple of years ago, and I was appalled at how filthy the park was. I'm like, they have like a $15 billion budget for the past year, and this park is filthy. And I started observing people's behavior. So there's over by the public restrooms, there was toilet paper on the ground, and there was trash on the ground, and there were dead animals on the ground, birds and squirrels and
Nice.
stuff. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, first off, this is a national park, so we're paying for this. Second off, it's in California, one of the most liberal states in the entire nation. And people would just walk past these things. And I asked a couple of people, I'm like, do you see the garbage on the ground? I said, why wouldn't you pick that up? Well, I pay to have it done. That's what my taxes are for. And so then that personal ownership is just gone from people's psyche. It's not even there anymore. There's no sense of community and of citizenry of, you know what, there's a piece of garbage on the ground, let me bend down and pick that up. And so I started trying to be an example to people. And I took just a little trash bag, you know, a grocery bag, and I started picking stuff up. And pretty soon another lady come over, she's like, oh, that's a good idea, let me help you out. So this is how we start getting people involved again. First off, be an example. Second off, be willing to do it yourself. Don't expect someone else to do it because you've paid at the office. That's not the way that this entire equation was intended to work. It's incumbent on us.
Yeah, but doesn't that contradict what you said earlier, that we pay for these services, we have a right to expect that they're going to get done?
Well, you need to understand that I want to stop paying for the services.
Well,
And
it's not
well,
getting
like the
done.
national park.
Right, it's not getting done. So number one, stop. We need to put a stop on the taxes, and we need to start slowly rolling back the taxes.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not trying to defund anything. I'm not trying to say that something doesn't need to be taken care of. I'm trying to say that if you have a person that's willing to go out and donate and volunteer hours, that it's incumbent upon us to do these things. We should be able to go into a national park and say, hey, I'd like to donate 20 hours. You know, can I have free access to the park? And that should be an absolute yes. Instead, what happens is the Department of Interior has their budget. So they have all these billions of dollars to run these parks, which you gotta admit are pretty nominal to run. Because what are you paying for? There's not a lot of buildings, so you're not paying for plumbing, you're not paying for electricity, you're not paying for a lot of development. It's a very nominal investment in what they're taking care of. Because isn't the whole idea that we leave it wild and untouched? Isn't that the whole idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I go into a park. So let's use Bryce Canyon as an example because that's a park that I visit frequently. I had to pay $35 to go in there. How is that not double taxation when I've already paid money that goes to a Department of Interior budget and now I've got to pay $35 to go and visit a park I've already paid for?
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
dirty?
And it's dirty.
And it's dirty?
You found it dirty also.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you're right that we're not getting the services that we're paying for, but I don't know if you've observed in the state of Nevada, there's no system to do that. What they do first is they they tote out their wish list of what they want, and then when they get their wish list done, then they look for the money. And of course, there isn't enough money to do anyone's wish list. Instead of paring down the wish list, they mount on taxes. And then when they do the taxation, though, there's no consideration of performance. What these taxes are going to achieve. So they said that they've been saying. They said last time that they were going to do that in education. Well, they said that in 2003 also, that they were going to do it with education. And they still don't have measurements because that is not part of their budgeting process to determine performance standards.
Right. Well, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, use it or lose it, right?
Okay.
Okay, so that's the mindset of those that work in these government offices. Use it or lose it. If we don't use all of the budget we have right now, we're going to lose it, and we can't ask for more for the next year's budget.
Right.
Okay, so that's number one. That's a mindset problem.
Yeah.
That you are first looking at utilizing all the dollars you have available to you, rather than did we utilize what we have available as effectively and as efficiently as we can.
Yeah.
Okay? The second problem is our fault as citizens. Do we inspect what we expect? Or do we just take it for granted that, oh, well, we've paid our taxes, so the magic tax fairy is going to go and make certain that those taxes are spent properly, and the magic tax fairy is going to make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing? Or is that incumbent upon us as citizens to go and say, hey, I'm here as a citizen and I pay taxes and I'd like to take a look at what you're doing here with my money.
Yeah.
And then as active citizens, why aren't we bringing it to the attention of our neighbors, of our friends, of our local representatives? So, you know, we also have to take some of this blame that we've just divorced ourselves from the situation.
Yeah, but and that's true. Not a lot of people show up at the local meetings. I haven't seen you there very much. Do you go to the county commission and testify?
I am involved in a lot of stuff, and I assure you that because I'm physically not present does not mean that I am not aware of what's going on and that I'm not active.
What particular things are you active in?
I've been active in politics for a very long time. I just finished my political science and history degree at UNLV, so I finished my bachelor's in that. I've had a paralegal degree from UNLV since 2004. I've worked political campaigns. Let's see, I think George Bush, his second run was my first political campaign that I worked. But I've been very active in politics. I've been on Mitt Romney's campaign, George Bush's, on and on. And I'm trying to think of all of them. With Joe Heck.
What particular civic issues, though? What issues concern you the most?
I think in Nevada, for us specifically, it's always a school issue. That's the one that always seems to come up.
Okay.
So they're constantly asking for more money for schools. And they're saying that the budget's not big enough and this, that, and the other. So let me explain to you why we have a problem with financing our schools. Again, we're a sanctuary city. At the last time I checked with the Pew Research Center, we had the third highest population of illegals in the entire nation. We're not even a border state, and we have the third highest population of illegals. So the illegals come into our city, they get their Brian Sandoval stamped and endorsed driver's licenses, they put their children in our schools, they overburden the schools because they have a higher number of children per household than Americans do at this point in time. Those kids go into the school system, they need free lunches, they want free health care, they're going to get free housing, they're going to get all the welfare benefits that they can possibly get. In the meantime, the schools are saying, well, we don't have enough teachers for all these kids. We don't have enough curriculum for all of these kids. We don't have enough seating space for all of these kids. So what do they do to correct it? They have to go buy portables. So there goes some of their budget, buying portables that they weren't anticipating having to buy. They have to change the school schedule, and in some districts, the schools have had to go to a year-round schedule. And then the parents are ticked off because now they can't have a summer vacation. And the whole problem was that you brought illegals in here in the first place that are taking the money that their parents earned and they're sending it back to Mexico to finance Mexico's economy.
Yeah.
Again, $25 billion in remittances. That didn't go to funding the schools here, okay? And when you have an influx of people that quickly, we can't build quick enough to accommodate them.
Yeah.
We just can't do it. And that's why it's important that they follow the legal process of coming into this country. That legal process kind of keeps that funnel from being a floodgate, and it trickles them in slowly, and we can start building the infrastructure and the buildings and the schools that we need to accommodate them. But when it's a floodgate, what are you going to do? Stick your finger in it?
So,
That didn't work so well, does it?
so what is your suggestion for the immigration issue? The state legislature isn't so involved with that, but but apparently you have strong ideas about that. What is your solution to it?
Well, first off, people need to start following the laws that are already on the book. So if we have people here that don't belong here, then they need to be reported to the proper federal authorities, immigration, and be deported out. It's not our
And so
responsibility.
you would deport 11 million people?
Well, not all at once. You understand,
It's
it's
not
a
all at
process.
once.
You have
But
a policy.
it wouldn't be a problem. And it wouldn't be the first time that this nation has removed people from this country that don't belong here.
11
that have come
million people?
illegally. I said it's a process. I didn't say that we're all getting on board at one time. But I assure you, because we have that spirit of ingenuity, if we
Yeah.
wanted to take 11 million, I think we could do it.
Yeah, and then who is going to do the work? Because they do most of the work in the state.
Well, okay, so let me explain that there's more than one way to skin a cat. So you look at it as the way that you've heard the narration presented to you. Well, they do all the work, do they? So as soon as McDonald's...
Most of these people have come to do work. A relatively
to
small
work that we
number
won't
of-
do, right?
uh,
But in the
well,
meantime, you need to understand that who the
Or-
illegals displace in the workforce are young black males. So you're proposing to me that young black males will not go out and take a job, and that therefore we have to bring illegals in here?
Well, if the young black males wanted to do these jobs, they could do them. They
No.
could go.
You know why?
They could go do.
Because the illegal comes in and they ask for and will accept a lower wage than is required by the mandatory minimum wage, okay? So an illegal will come in, get hired under the table, therefore saving the employer money. And they're more than happy to
Well,
take.
they save the employer money because they produce more. They get more done.
Do they?
Again,
Well, let me give you an
yeah.
example of my
It's-
observation
okay.
of someone doing their job that
Yeah.
didn't speak English. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume they weren't born in this country, okay? So that might be a stretch on my part, but hey, this is Vegas and I'll put a gamble down
Yeah, okay.
that she wasn't, okay? So I'm in one of our very nice casinos over on the west side, and I go in to use the ladies' room before I'm going into a movie. And I see this employee doing the job that you propose that Americans won't do. And she has one rag. She uses the rag to wipe the floor around the toilet. She then uses it to wipe the toilet seat. She then takes it over to the sink and wipes the sink with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So-
so is that the quality of work
So
that we want?
So you're saying that's just characteristic of that's what a foreigner would do?
Why do
And
they care?
Not another employee wouldn't do that.
Why do they care? They weren't born here. They don't particularly like us. If you ask 9 out of 10 of them if they plan on staying here and retiring here, they'll tell you no. They're going back to Mexico.
Oh, I
They
don't
come
know.
here to earn the money. They send it back to Mexico. That's why they're building their nest egg in Mexico. They aren't sending it
That's
back
why
to
they're
Mexico.
building what?
Their nest egg in
Oh,
Mexico.
nest egg.
They're
Yeah.
sending it back to Mexico to be
Yeah.
altruistic. Oh, I love my home country, but I want to be an American citizen now. But hey, I'm going to donate to my fellow former citizens in Mexico.
So would
They're
you
building a nest egg.
so would you feel better if they said, "Oh, we would like to stay here"?
I wouldn't feel better about any of it. I would feel better if they followed the process, which is already in place, that they
Yeah.
legally must go through.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
like anybody else who has legally done it here. And they do displace the young black male. And then you need to see what the fallout effect from that is. The young black male then can't get a job. He doesn't qualify for unemployment. He might have 1 or 2 kids from, 1 or 2 different baby mamas. Now the mom is getting the welfare because she's got the kids with her. So what does the male turn to? Gangs, crime, drugs, illegal activities, you name it.
And shooting.
And so
Exactly.
So all these, both the taxation problem, the school problem, and the employment problem of young black males, all hinges on the immigration, on the people that are coming in from other countries.
Well, let me ask you, did we have the problems before the immigration problem sprouted?
Well, I think it's more complicated than that, but
Oh,
we're not.
could you explain it to me? Please explain it to me, because I don't see it as being complicated at all.
I think the unions have ruined the industrial base. If you go all over the country, there are factories just laying there that were moved overseas simply because the unions made such outrageous demands.
So,
It-
but in
it
Las
got to
Vegas,
the
we don't
point
deal
where
with a
we're-
lot of unions because we don't have manufacturing here. Our unions that we deal with are primarily in the casinos, and there is a retail clerks union. There's a couple of unions here, but I don't think that it's as pervasive of a problem in Las Vegas, Nevada, as it is in a lot of more industrial cities, say like Pennsylvania or Detroit, someplace like that, where they're doing automobile manufacturing, something along those lines.
Yeah.
But we do have them here, and they are a problem. So
Well-
I'm not pro-union either.
We have a very different economy than any other state or any other city in the country.
Correct.
It's totally based on, it's 50% based on tourism.
Mhm.
And that's one advantage that we have, that people come in from all over and can speak languages and can deal with people from all over the world and make them feel more comfortable here. So we have a different type of economy. We're not a factory
So
economy.
you just said that people from all over the world are coming in here, and we have people that can speak those languages. I think that the predominant language that is spoken here, other than English, is Spanish. So that doesn't really account for what you just said, that they're coming from all over the world, because we already know historically, if you've lived in Las Vegas for any amount of time, that it's actually the Asians that come here mostly and are spending the money. And now that dynamic has changed the last time I spoke to someone who's actually in the casino industry, and we're having a lot of Middle Easterners that are coming here and spending the dollars. So it went from the Asian countries, and now we're looking at Middle Eastern countries. And I would assume that's because of the oil that they receive the funds from.
Yeah, you're right. A huge amount of our economy, well, not a huge amount, a small amount of our economy so far depends on Chinese people coming, for example. Well, we could have a lot more Chinese people coming here. There are at least 100 million Chinese people that want to come here and
I'll take
be
them.
taken care of.
They
That's right.
they work hard and they don't go on welfare. I'll take them.
But your country won't, our country won't take them. They won't give them visas to come. And if they just would, our economy could be booming now. And everyone could be
So
employed.
let's take a look at that and let's dissect it. Okay, so you make the statement that they won't give the Chinese visas,
Yes.
but yet the Mexicans from Mexico come up and there's no problem. I mean, we're a sanctuary city. You can get a driver's license. So why do you think that is?
They have a propensity to vote
Well,
Democratic.
Exactly. Asian people are very proud people. They're culturally proud, they're family proud, and they don't want to go on welfare. That's not to say that there aren't some that probably have, but I have a lot of Asian friends. They're hard workers,
No, that's true.
okay? And it is
That's
an
their culture.
embarrassment
And so-
to them to have to go on welfare. And the majority of them become business owners. They contribute to the economy. They participate. They come here legally. I have friends that are naturalized citizens that are from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not the dynamic that is happening with the people from Mexico.
Yes, it is. The people come here to work. Those people work
Do they come
hard.
here to work or they come here to get money? Because there's two different ways to look at that.
Well, they know. I don't know what goes on inside their brain, but certainly, in order to get money, they have to work, and they work very hard.
So they want
If
the
you
money.
go to- if
You'll
you-
admit they
if
want
you-
the money.
Of course, everyone
Okay,
does.
but then what are they
Yeah.
doing with the money?
Fortunately, they're taking it out of the country, because if it stayed in the country, it would create inflation. Fortunately,
No.
we're-
No,
you're-
staying in the country does not create inflation. What creates
Sure it does.
inflation? No, it doesn't create
If you have too
inflation.
many, if you have too much currency,
Okay,
if you
I'm
have
gonna
too many
recommend a book
dollars.
for you. Freakonomics 101, okay? Just go get the book.
Yeah.
It'll explain a lot to you. Okay, so the reason why the inflation comes about because it's artificially inflated. Right now, our money is not backed by gold. You
That's
understand
right.
this,
They
right?
just
Not since
print
the
their-
Nixon.
They just print this money.
Right.
Because these foreign countries will accept it.
And so who sets the interest rates? Who sets all of these?
Well, the
The
Federal Reserve
right?
is.
Okay, so let me
has
ask
taken-
you, is the Federal Reserve actually federal?
No, of course it isn't.
Who owns the Federal
Yeah,
Reserve?
the banks.
Sure.
The private banks.
No, that's right.
Right? Okay, so what's the motivation behind the private banks? Since we already all know that the Federal Reserve is not federal. We don't even control our own money. And Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Yeah,
So
that's
our
right.
money is nothing more than what's considered fiat.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
right.
All right? So Mexicans sending our money, our dollars back to Mexico does not create inflation.
No,
The-
that's right. It diminishes inflation by sending the money outside the country.
No, it doesn't. If the
Sure
money
it
was, no, it doesn't. Because if the money is, okay, let's break it down to the simple, okay? So let's say I'm an illegal person from Mexico.
Yeah,
And I've decided that, well, I cheated the system and I came in illegally, but I want to participate and I actually want to do the right things. So rather than send my money that I'm making to Mexico, I actually start paying taxes. And I start going and shopping at different stores and restaurants and going and getting my oil change and this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. And so my money is now going through a business owner. That business owner is going to pay taxes on it. That business owner is going to buy another truck and expand his business. He's going to build another location and he's going to expand his business. He's going to provide more jobs because now he's expanded because he got this extra money that didn't go to Mexico. It came back into our economy. So now these people that don't have jobs, now we start having jobs that are available for people. Okay, so you're looking at it from some kind of weird angle that I'm not seeing, because money out never comes back in. Money that stays in grows and it builds.
okay. The economy works on a basis of demand versus supply. If there's too much, if there's too
Well,
much
that's a
supply.
very
if-
simplified version of it.
Okay, if there's too much supply of dollars, then that will push prices up.
But you understand we can't
And
control this
so
when they
the
just
more money
print
that
money.
goes out the country, that's like a free ride. Anytime a foreign country takes our dollars, which are in essence just pieces of paper with green ink on them.
Correct, it's fiat.
Anytime a foreign country takes those and puts them in their reserves or keeps them from coming back here, they have helped our economy because.
That would only be true if there was an independent business owner that actually got paid money to print the money. Okay, because then he would have to run a factory and would have to employ people. You understand that it's our money that pays for the government facilities, the mint, and we have a few of them across the United States, in Denver and San Francisco, all the different mints, okay? We're financing that. So we're paying to print the paper money that has zero value, that they're going to send outside the country. It's not going to come back in. And then we're going to go and we're going to print more, which costs us more money because it costs money to run
costs a
these
couple
facilities.
pennies for each $100 bill.
That's what you
Yeah.
think? A couple pennies?
Yeah.
So what employees are they paying to print these paper
Well,
dollar
of course,
bills?
the government.
Oh, so it costs a
the
little more because you
government-
gotta pay for the employees.
the
And then
gov-
what about the
the
buildings
government-
and the overhead and
No.
the power and
Well,
the plumbing?
okay,
And the
first off-
vacation pay and the health insurance. And when you work for the government, you know that you get really good money, right?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna make probably 8 times more than what someone in the private sector makes doing that exact
that-
same job.
You're right about those things, of course. But most money is not physical money. Most money are digits being transferred by.
Well, maybe
and so
for
it's
some
not-
people, but not for me and you.
Well,
My money is very real, what's in the bank and what's not in the bank.
but
when I
what's
pay
in
my
the
bills.
bank is a digital thing. It's not. The bank isn't
Right,
holding.
the bank
bank
doesn't
isn't
actually
holding
hold the bank, that's correct.
All the money of the depositors. But.
Right,
but-
because when we
but,
run out of money,
okay, well,
we'll
let's
just print
look at-
more, right?
Let's look at it another way. China, because China is forced to accept dollars under their international trade agreements, has taken in about $4 trillion in excess because they produced a lot more than we have. They're holding about $4 trillion. What would happen if they dumped those into the U.S., if there was some way of dumping those into into the economy.
Well,
Those $4
I
trillion.
would-
They don't hold them in physical money, of course not. There aren't that
Right.
many dollars in
Right, the
existence.
Chinese don't
Yeah.
want our paper money, you understand that. They come here and what they do is they buy real estate holdings, they buy businesses, they.
No, I'm not talking about that. In addition to all the other international transfers, they still have a couple $1 billion a day left over because they're such a much more productive society than we are. We're a consumer society, and we consume their goods. We pay for those goods. They produce the goods, and they get this excess. We run a deficit with them, and so the total that's been accumulated in China is about $4 trillion. And that's not being held in physical money. But can you grasp the idea that if they dump that in the American economy, it would cause enormous inflation?
Well, of course
They
it
don't just
did.
come here and dump the money on
No.
the shore and leave.
No, but
No,
I mean,
he's talking
if
about
they found
digitally dumping it, whether
if
it
they
would
found
be-
a way, deposit in the bank.
So
or
let's say they own
buy-
stocks and bonds and this, that, and the
Buy
other, and they digitally
casinos.
dumped it, is what he's talking about.
No.
Okay, first off, we know that that's not likely to happen. It's a nice threat to put out there because then you can make somebody perform and behave the way that you want them to if you put that threat there. But you know what, in the first place, why are we doing this kind of business with China? You know, this has already been pointed out on the national political level by Donald Trump, that we shouldn't be engaging in these agreements with China because just like he stated, we have to pay all of these tariffs and taxes anytime that we bring in a ship full of containers coming from China. But yet if we send a ship to China, 9 times out of 10, it's not even going to be permitted there. They don't even want to do business with us. They want their business to come out. They don't want our business to come
To
in.
the contrary.
The only thing
Chinese
they
are
want
dying
is
to
what
buy
they-
things from America. They don't have
Really?
anything
What
to
do we
buy.
produce?
That's
I
right. We
can
don't
tell you
produce
the only
anything.
thing that we produce that they need.
We
what?
produce
The only thing we produce that they need is food.
Well,
Food.
that's one thing. That's only one thing. We
Right,
we-
because what else do we produce?
We trade almost $500 billion a year with them, and they want to buy more things from, but we don't have the things to sell. One thing they definitely want to buy is tourism. They want to buy rooms at the hotels. They want to buy conventions. They want to buy trips to the Grand Canyon. But our government won't let them in to do that.
I've never seen a problem with people coming in legally. I mean, you can get
There's
a
a
visa,
huge
you
problem.
can get it, you can get.
There are long lines trying to get visas to
Well-
come into China.
well, you understand
Trying
that-
to come into the United
But
States.
part of this is a numbers problem, okay? You have to understand, what is the population of China versus what is the
No,
population of the
1.3
United States?
billion.
Okay, so part of it is just obviously going to be a numbers game. And you have to also
But
understand.
these are people.
But you're assuming
The-
that
the-
China just makes it really easy for these people to come out of China, and all they gotta do is go down and get a passport, just like we Americans do.
That's right.
That's not the
It's
process that
easier.
they follow.
It sure
No,
is.
it's not.
It's easier there than it is here.
Okay, I will challenge you to do some research on that because I assure you that the average Chinese citizen cannot just go pop down to their local post office and get a passport the way that we do it here in America.
I absolutely can.
Mm.
There's absolutely no problem.
And-
The only
and-
problem,
and
the only
you're-
problem Chinese have is they have to get a special visa to go to Hong Kong or to go to Macau, which are part of China but are separate in a way.
Okay, so can you
And
cite your
in
source for
spite of
that?
that, what?
Can you cite your source for telling me that it's that easy in China to go get a passport?
I mean, there's no question. I have
Well-
lots of friends in China who do this. That's not an issue.
So your source is your friends in China, but you
I
can't.
go there a lot.
Okay. Well, you and I
know.
will exchange information, and I will show you with
Okay.
citable sources that it's not as easy as your friends have led you to believe. Because you also understand that there is an economical hierarchy in China. So there's rich and there's poor. Okay? And the rich are very rich and the poor are very poor.
No.
And most of the people in China don't live like you and I live here. Okay? They don't own property. They don't own homes.
To the
they don't
contrary,
own-
60%.
I don't know what China you're visiting, sir.
There's a higher percentage of home ownership in China than there is here. It's close to 70%. Here it's around 60%. More Chinese people own their homes than own their homes in the United
Interesting.
States. Yeah.
Well,
And
then I'm,
people are unaware of these things.
no, I'm
But
not
to get-
unaware.
to
I
get-
just
to get-
would proffer up that perhaps your data is not exactly correct. I mean, I think I had stated to you that I just graduated from UNLV with a political science degree. These are definitely
Well-
issues that I have studied and read
Well, I hope
and
they
had
didn't
to
teach you
and
that.
had to
And they-
write reports
You're
on.
telling me they taught you that?
I'm telling you that I've had to do my own research and I've had to go on and understand
Are
what
you-
some of these
but-
other countries and how they live. And it just does not even make sense what you're saying. So basically,
What do you
based
mean
off
it
of
doesn't
your,
make sense? In 1989, China had a 99% population of poverty. People living in abject poverty. Wages $15 a month, okay? Today, there are 300 million people in the middle class, meaning it's very similar to our middle class. They have automobiles, they can travel internationally, they can do lots of other things. And this process is accelerating. 90% of the new millionaires in the world are Chinese. One country is producing 90% of millionaires. It's easier to do a business in China than it is here. There's much more small business. It's easier to set up businesses. The people are prospering tremendously. And
So
there
next your
there
question.
are at least 100 million people, Chinese, that would love to come to Las Vegas. The problem is our embassy. It is not them getting
so let me
getting
ask you a
passports.
question. If China's that great, why are people not dying to get into China, but they're dying to get into the United States?
They're
of
not
America?
dying, they're going back to work in China because there are greater opportunities there.
What do you
And
mean
they're
not dying?
transferring
You
here.
have people from Cuba that get on a
I'm
homemade
not talking about
raft of
Cuba.
tires.
Cuba's a whole different
and tra-
problem. Cuba is a different
Okay, but
problem.
we're
It's a
talking
different
about
issue.
countries. We're
I'm
talking about the
China.
USA versus China. And you're trying to propose to me that China is as good, if not better, than the United States of America. And so I break it down to one question. Then
Have you
why
been
are
there?
people
Have you
dying
been
to
there?
I have
No,
and I have
I'll
no
tell
desire
you
to go
what.
to China.
I'm
I'm happy here.
Yeah,
I love
right.
my country.
And you would want to stay in ignorance.
No,
I
I've been
can
to
tell you-
Italy, I've
I
been
can
to
tell-
Sweden,
yeah,
I've been to the
okay.
Netherlands, I've been to
All
Mexico.
declining countries, okay. Go to China. Las Vegas looks like a slum compared to any city in China.
Yeah,
And
I would seriously doubt that. But you and
Well,
I, you and I
no,
will, you and I will rendezvous
I've-
again.
I've been to
and we'll-
dozens of cities in China. There are cranes all over the place. Hundreds
Oh,
of
there ought to
cranes.
be.
in
They're,
buildings.
they're taking enough of our money, there ought to be.
They don't do that on their money. They do it on our money. They do it on their money. Any dollar that goes to buy something in China is converted to RMB.
So then I would have, so
And so
based off of our
then the
conversation, I
RMB
would have to
ends up
ask,
in
what's
the-
the motivation for your great love for China and why aren't you there?
Well, that's a good question, because I think that China is prospering, whereas our country is going downhill because of our emphasis on government, like you were saying. The Chinese government only eats up 15% of people's salaries. Our government eats up 40%, or it's going toward 50%. That difference between 40% and 15% is what could be in the hands of the people in order to do businesses, like you were saying at the beginning. And that's what's happening in China. People are able to.
That's interesting
keep
because
their
I
own
just
money.
I just started working for a new company and I went through training with a gentleman that was actually from China. My
Yes.
company had hired him to sell to the Chinese population here in Las Vegas. And I asked him several questions. I said, well, how long have you been here? He's a tennis coach. He's a tennis coach.
He's
in
a
China.
what? Tennis
coach in
coach?
China, right? And he came here, and so I said, well, why not stay in China? He's like, well, you can't live in China. I can't make any money in China. I said, well, where's your family? His family's still in China because he can't afford to bring him over here yet. Okay. Now this is an average guy, a tennis coach, right? So
Okay.
here, that would be somebody that's middle income. I'm guessing. You could
Okay.
probably make a
Okay.
middle income
Of
being a
course.
tennis coach in the United States of
Okay.
America. But yet he's telling me that he wanted to come to America so bad that he left his family in China. He doesn't have the funds to bring him over here, but he's hoping to be able to earn them in the new job that he's going to have. And that
His job here.
his job here in the United States, right? That he can't bring his family
Well,
here.
check. I'll bet anything that the friends can afford to come now. Well, how long ago did he come?
This was in August of last year.
He
he's,
came in August.
No, he's been here. I met him in August of last year, but he's been
No, but
here
how
for
long
about
is
2
it?
years.
2 years?
2 years. He's been away
Yeah.
from his family. Hasn't seen
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
Now, he takes the
Most
money.
people travel back and forth. Most
No, he
Chinese
doesn't travel back and forth.
What are the restrictions on
That's-
him bringing
that's
his
weird.
family here? There has to be some
Well,
restrictions
The
here.
the immigration laws or the immigration laws, whatever they are.
Yeah, yeah.
the-
I've
He's
been
currently
here
on a work-
18 years to get him here.
Yeah, he's currently on a work visa himself, but he can't afford, meaning he doesn't have enough
Yeah,
money
okay.
to financially bring his family over here. So what he does is the money that he earns here, he sends it over to China.
Yeah.
Again, remittances.
Yeah.
More
Yeah. If you look at if you look at the gross national product of China in 1989, it was probably $1 trillion at the most. And you look at the gross national product of China today, I think it's in excess of ours, but some people would disagree with that.
Well, we could
they
look
would
that
say-
up. I have an app called the
Well, you
CIA
can't,
Fact
it's not
Book.
that
so-
easy. It's
No,
not-
it actually
it's
is.
not that-
The CIA
yeah.
Fact Book actually
Yeah.
keeps track of those things, what
But-
GDP is for each of the
but
countries in the world.
The point is, it's gone from $1 trillion up to, they would probably report 8 trillion or something like that, or 12 trillion. It's gone from $1 trillion to 12 trillion. So how can you say they're not getting wealthier?
Well, they're not getting welfare, so I don't know who you're talking to.
Well,
Apparently you have
from
rich
$1 trillion
friends.
to 12 trillion, that's 12 times.
Okay, but all
But
things,
that's 12 times.
but you're talking figures
In-
from 1989, okay? So do you
In
make,
35 years, our economy has gone down, it hasn't gone up.
okay,
And
but
the
we can
wages
find.
are the same today as they were in
Okay, but
1997.
you also need to understand, a loaf of bread doesn't.
$16.8 trillion. China GNP.
16.8. So
And what's
same
ours?
as ours, same as ours. I think there's no question their economy.
Okay,
their-
but a loaf of
their
bread doesn't
economy is
cost the
much
same
bigger.
today as it
What?
did in 1989
What?
either. I mean, so you have to understand, all things
No,
are relative
okay.
to the age that you live in.
16.9.
So they're both 16.9.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you take it.
But their
they-
population is what compared to ours?
Oh, yeah, it's like.
Yeah, it's divided among more
Exactly.
people, you're right. But they are on the upswing, they are constructing, they are building, everyone is working. They don't have homeless, they don't have crime, they don't have the issues that
Okay,
we
but
have
you-
here.
but you
Isn't there
understand.
3 sizes of the United States in rice paddies, though?
Yeah,
Pardon?
well, this, and this is,
3 times the population of the United States in rice paddies.
and this is
I
the
don't
point that I was
understand.
gonna bring about, is that,
What does
is
that
that he's looking at the
Living in
city.
rice paddies.
Exactly.
Living in
You
rice
have-
paddies?
You
Not in
have the
Beijing,
urban,
you're in rice
the
paddies. Oh,
urban
you're
people
right.
living in
Yeah.
China. And I assure you, sir, they are not living in houses nicer than what we have in the United States of America. Even a person living over on D Street getting welfare is living in a nicer house than somebody that works in the urban area in a rice paddy
Well,
in China.
In a rice paddy, yes, but.
Well, we don't have
but
rice paddies here. So
okay.
I would say the overall living
No.
standard in America is much higher than China.
We have immigrant workers who work in the fields. That's
Yes,
true. We
back
don't
to the
have
immigrant
people.
workers, which is
Yeah.
actually the path that we were going to travel down before we got off on the side
Yeah,
tangent. Is that you're looking at it from the standpoint that nobody would do these jobs if we don't have the immigrant here. What about technology? What about innovation? What about McDonald's not wanting to pay $15 an hour to an employee, so they automate their system? So actually, I would proffer up to you that by having all of these people here, we've actually shorted ourselves progress and innovation and doing things in a better, more efficient, cost-efficient manner. And creating more technological jobs for people to be employed in, where they could earn higher wages because they could go to a trade school or a tech school instead of having to go to college and get a bachelor's degree in a field of study that they'll never use in a million years.
Yeah,
So, you need to kind of look at things more three-dimensionally than on a flat plane. When you have someone that has a low expectation and has a low level of skill and ingenuity and intelligence to offer, that holds you back. Okay? Haven't you
And
ever
so-
noticed that when you're with your friends
so
that
you're
are
saying
smarter
that
than you,
people are
you have to work a little harder and it challenges you a little bit, but when you're with people who have less intelligence than you, have less than you can coast.
yeah.
Okay? So what you surround yourself with is going to determine what your next goal is that you're going to strive
And so
for.
what's the point about that with the political
That all of these
situation now?
that all of these illegals actually hold us back.
Oh, I see.
We could be doing
So-
things in a better way.
So the
We could be
illegals,
helping them
so
because we could come up with more technological jobs, help our own people
so
first,
why
put
don't
our
we do
vets
that?
back to work.
Why don't we encourage
Because-
them to
because
do
people
things? Why don't we
get
give
locked-
driver's licenses? Why don't we make it more possible for them to do what
Because
they
it
want
comes
to
down to
do?
voting.
And then they can,
Because it comes down to voting.
And so, you think they vote illegally?
Oh,
Is that what you-
absolutely. I know they vote illegal. There is
Oh,
no
okay.
question in my mind that they vote
Yeah,
illegally, okay? With the Voter Motor Act that Bill Clinton signed in, as soon as they go get their driver's license, they can sign up to vote.
Yeah,
They're not checked. What are they gonna check? The driver's license they just gave them?
No,
They're not checking their birth certificate.
no,
So, yeah, it's not difficult to vote illegally in this country.
no.
And why do you think that?
Because the parties.
Exactly, and why do you think the Democrats will start screaming and howling the minute that you say that you want voter ID?
Sure.
Because
they
there
are.
goes their base,
Yeah,
all right?
absolutely.
And it didn't start with the Mexicans, okay? It started with the Irish back on the East Coast. When the Irish would come here off of the ships, it started with Tammany Hall and Boss Tweed, okay? They would send their little operatives out, they would go down to the ship and they would
Okay.
say, hey, you just landed on the shores.
Okay.
You want a house to live in? You want a job? Here's how you're gonna vote. So vote early, vote often, and vote how we tell you.
Yeah, okay.
And here's the slip and it's already filled out.
Well, on that note, we should terminate the program because we can discuss this more later.
I'd be
perhaps.
happy to.
But thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me,
Melissa.
and I appreciate it.
And do you want to tell people how they can support your campaign?
I'm actually not looking for any financial support. I actually kind of try to
That's
walk
right.
the talk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not looking for any funds. I did run 2 years ago. That was my first time. I have some campaign pieces that are left over from that. I'm going to go ahead and recycle those and reuse
Recycle
those
them.
again. I'm not
There you
looking
go.
for any monetary donations
Okay.
whatsoever. The only thing I ask is check the box. When you get in the
Okay.
voter booth,
And-
check the box.
And
Who's running in District 4?
who's?
There's 5 people up there. I don't know all of them. There's 2 Democrats, 3 Republicans. MacArthur, which, he was in before Fiore, so I don't know, it's kind of like a rerun.
Right.
He's been there, done that, seen it.
He's also Republican, right?
Correct.
You're Republican.
Correct.
And-
And then there's a Resendez, I'm not sure how the pronunciation, maybe.
Resendez. Okay.
Resendez.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 Democrats, not sure what the 2 names are.
Your name is difficult to pronounce.
Well, not really.
You
got laughter or laughter?
It spells different than you
Lauder.
say it.
Okay, Melissa Lauder.
That's okay.
Thank you very much. for
One
coming
and 2
in.
gets it right, so
Okay.
it's not that difficult, 50-50.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you. You said you had to get to a meeting.
No, I finished up my meetings before coming here,
Oh,
so, and then I've got some.
Oh, I
that's
thought you had to
outstanding.
be someplace.
No, let me give you one of my cards also.
Oh, great.
So,
Thanks a lot.
There you go. And you and I will go back together on China.